With Atlus dropping a whole 3 new games on us, there's a lot to be excited for, but I know there are a lot of people out there who are specifically looking for Persona 6. While Persona 3 Reload might excite them a little bit, they're more interested in what could be even more new from Atlus. So today, I'm gonna try to examine a little bit of the past and predict the future. Maybe. Maybe I'll be wrong, who knows. And try to figure out what all these announcements really mean for Persona 6.
Oh, this is all hypothetical, mind you.
Now there's a lot to unpack here because this is kind of the first time in at least a while that Atlus has unveiled 3 brand new games all at the same time. For one, Tactica means that Persona 5 Milk is back on the menu, and Atlus isn't done with the Phantom Thieves just yet. It's very likely that we begin to see a few more spin-offs again until P6 is ready to launch. P3 Reload, on the other hand, is being treated appropriately as a mainline Persona game. Development began back in 2019, and it's going to end in 2024. A sizable amount of time for a remake. But to be fair, there's a lot going into it. Even without the answer or FemC, there's a good amount of content that has to be remade and redesigned to fit within modern standards. There isn't really a conclusion to be drawn with Tactica besides the fact that Persona 5 is probably going to be milked at least 1 or 2 more times after it, but I do think it's important for us to take a look at the development timeline for P3 Remake, because this game is still taking 5 years to develop with a complete story, setting, and characters. That's a lot of time. And now for a quick glimpse into the past.
Realized it too then. It was our conversation about pancakes, right?
I've talked about this a little bit at length, so I'm gonna make it quick, hopefully. Persona 5 took a long time to develop, with an estimated dev time coming out to about 6 to 8 years. Persona 6 is probably going to take at least the same amount of time, and keep in mind, Persona 5 is from the PS3 era. You're jumping one whole generation, assuming that P6 is not coming to last-gen consoles. But jumping that whole generation and making a game that wouldn't be able to come to last-gen consoles means that there's a lot more development time that needs to go in. Because as games have gotten more complex and as generations have gone on, game development takes more time, money, and resources to do. So to be clear, it really wouldn't surprise me if Persona 6 takes anywhere from 8 to 10 years to finish development. I mean that overall. I think it'd be pretty surprising if Persona 6 took another 10 years from now.
Remember what I told you? If you ever won against me using my right hand, I'd take you on with everything I've got.
So now we're arriving at the big title, which I guess is not Persona 3 Reload yet, but it is Metaphor. So what's my take here? Well, it's complicated. When it comes to releasing games, it's important to space out releases. A lot of companies do this, and it's often why you don't see a company launching 2 to 3 games all at once, or why some even get delayed or shifted around internally. The only time companies don't do this is when they don't care and want a franchise to die, or are just so confident that nothing could possibly interfere with your 2 games selling exponentially well. Another component of spreading out your releases is simple marketing. If you're not a huge company, marketing 2 games can lead to a lot of overlap. If one title is a lot larger than the other, then the smaller title might take a hit in attention. Even right now, there's a lot of talk about Persona 3 Reload, and a lot less about Persona 5 Tactics and even Metaphor. You have to already consider the hype for a remake of Persona 3, and that P5T is a much smaller scale game in comparison to the other 2. But the reaction would probably be at least mildly different if all that was revealed at that showcase was Persona 5 Tactica. Anyways, let's draw some attention to how Atlus approaches a lot of marketing. Usually there's a single big title being marketed at a time. As an example, while SMT5 was announced in 2017-2018, there's a distinct silence until 2021 after the launch of Persona 5 Royal and the Western launch of Persona 5 Strikers. Then they began to market both SMT3 Remaster and SMT5, both of which are at least mildly popular in the JRPG space. And there's not much cannibalism that would happen in the marketing because they are technically from the same series. And it isn't until after SMT5 that Soul Hackers 2 began marketing. And after that was released, the Etrian Odyssey Origins collection was announced a few months later. Basically, Atlus seems to avoid trying to market a lot of their bigger titles at once, or titles that wouldn't do well if they were marketed alongside another game. And it's not like this is some unspoken rule or anything. It's just a little bit of something that I noticed with Atlus and with a lot of companies when it comes to marketing titles. Unless they're a giant corporation, they really tend not to market too many games at once. So of course my big conclusion is that Persona 6 is not coming out next year. It might not even be announced in the next 12 months. A lot of this is of course dependent on when Metaphor releases, but being given a vague window of 2024 leads me to believe it will probably be in the second half of the year. With Persona 3 Reload taking the early section and Metaphor very likely taking the late, it's very likely that we don't see P6 until at least a few months to a year after Metaphor has come out. Even then, P Studios is hard at work on the Persona 3 remake. We still don't know if this is the entire team from the P Studios, or if it's just part and they're divided between Persona 3 and Persona 6. I'd like to say right now that I think that Persona 6 is well into development, but with the remake being done specifically by P Studios, it's unlikely that you'll be seeing P6 within the next year.
You're still not done? It's hard to do this with cat paws.
And I want to make my point clear, because it might seem like to a lot of people that I'm not being very clear. I'm not asking Atlus to rush out a game. I'm simply addressing the idea that Atlus might be sitting on P6 until P5 spin-offs are done is just not really true. I genuinely just don't think that Atlus is sitting on P6 and that it's done. Their games take a long time to develop, probably due to team size and expectations. In the end, I want them to take their time. I don't want to see a single trailer or promotional material until they know that this game is going to be ready. And yeah, this is all pretty much just wild speculation on my part. I'm not an expert in any field of this matter, but I do think that for the most part my prediction is sound. Because I doubt Atlus wants to overshadow their brand new IP they've been working on for 7 to 8 years with Persona 6, which is a game that can essentially market itself to its core audience. At least by comparison. You still need to get the general audience interested, which is much harder to do. So what do you think of all this? Do you think my prediction is sound? Do you think it's misguided? What's your thought? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, you can leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to the channel for more things Atlus, Persona, and JRPG related. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.